Is my sound good? Because I
Yeah.
adjusted my mic. It's fine. Yeah, you heard
Yeah,
me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
we can hear you perfectly.
cool,
And where's
perfect.
my notebook? There it is. All right, look how well prepared we are. All right.
We
Awesome.
normally the professionals have a more professional way, but I guess we have this mic. But okay.
It sounds really great. This mic, though, I like it.
All right. Well, okay, you ready?
Okay.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. David, thank you so much for taking the time and joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's a real honor. It feels like I've been invited to Major League for one game.
It's great to have you here, and I'm looking forward to talking about your book. And we will talk a little bit about the conference in Biarritz where we met. And of course, Lauren is here to ask you the first question. So I should give up the stage.
Yeah, step aside. So why did you write Tout sur Bitcoin?
The main reason is that while I was researching for a course that I built for a local college here in Montreal, I've read the beginning, let's say, well, I've read 24 books total for my research. And after, let's say, 5 or 6 books, I thought I was ready to construct my course. And I was like, wow, I cannot ask my mother to read 5 or 6 books about Bitcoin to understand Bitcoin. So I was like, yeah, I have to write a book for my mom. So she's going to have all the insight she needs to understand money, fiat money, and how Bitcoin works. Because I've read the first 2 or 3 books I've read was about blockchain and all that stuff. And I was pretty, I really, it was not that hard for me to understand how that worked. That was fine. But if you understand blockchain, you don't understand Bitcoin. You need to understand money to understand Bitcoin. And also you have to understand fiat. Not really to understand Bitcoin, but to discuss with people who are going to ask questions about Bitcoin and fiat. So a lot of people say Bitcoin is based on nothing. And if you don't know how fiat works, well, you're not going to be able to answer them. It's exactly what happened to me. I was really not knowledgeable about Bitcoin, and a bunch of really smart guys asked me questions about why there's value to Bitcoin, and it's not based on anything, and I didn't have any answer to them. So that's what that's what brought me to have this book reading frenzy. Sorry, when you read a lot. Well, it took 2 years to read, and I finally understand all that subject. And I was like, no, my mother's not gonna read all that. So I wrote the book for my mother and all the mother in the world and all the people in the world that want to understand money, fiat money, and Bitcoin. Yep, that's the answer.
Good enough for you?
Yes, but I just want to say something. I know you went to the conference because I saw the Bitcoin frisbee and the bag.
Oh, right. Oh, behind. Yeah.
Right there. And I brought that to the conference. Those were bookmarks for my books because everybody at the conference got my book. So I brought those and give them to people. Those are Venezuelan money, bolivars. So I gave one to each person I met so they could have a bookmark for the book they received.
And David was kind enough to give me the little casino chip.
Oh, he's the one who found it and gave it to you, right?
Yeah, because we didn't have one in our bag, and David explained he found one on the floor and he was going to give it to the first person he met that didn't have one, and that happened to be me. So
yep.
Thank you again. And the kids enjoyed that story when I turned up. They're like, what is this, Daddy? Like, can we use this to gamble? Can we go in the casino?
Awesome. Yeah.
Too much movies.
Yeah, way too many movies.
Ocean's 11 taught us that.
Ocean's 11 taught you how to count cards and blackjack. Yeah. No need to gamble anymore. That's the beauty of Bitcoin. Yeah, you don't need to gamble.
Need to gamble.
No,
just buy, stack sats. Couple years.
Savings, no gambling.
Savings,
no investing,
technology.
Just saving.
Do you have any other questions for David?
No.
Okay.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, Lauren. Have a good day.
Merci, au revoir.
Merci. I just realized that I was showing the Bolivar, and it's a podcast. So for the people who were asking themselves, what I showed is that I brought 200 Bolivar from Venezuela to give people at the conference as a bookmark, because it worth absolutely nothing. It costs like 10 cents or something like that to buy. So it's cheaper than buying bookmarks. That's essentially it.
And when I met you at the conference, you took me on a journey through hyperinflation with the help of the collection of notes you have. So I don't mind throwing this one up on YouTube if people listening now, if they want to switch over to YouTube, because David does have some pretty cool collections with him, and we'll get into that in a minute. But I wanted to ask you, first of all, the course you were doing for the college, did they approach you because they knew you were into Bitcoin, or was this kind of your job, or was this a mandate that they were looking for somebody to?
No, it was it's a in French it's formation continue, which means it's not a formal course in the college. It's when you work and you go back to college, you learn new things. There's a word for that in English. I'm sorry, I don't have it, but it's so it's a 7-hour course that I'm offering for people who are already working, not to the students. And because I was a student of participant of those courses on other courses they are offering to workers to specialize in let's say computer science and all that stuff. So I followed like 10 courses there, and I met one of my teacher in the metro Montreal, and had this idea, and I was like, do you think it could be do you think that the college would be interested in having this course at the college? He said, well, of course, yes. So I went to see the director and proposed the course, and they said yes. And a couple months later, I was giving it online because the pandemic arrived, and I was supposed to give it in person, but now it's all online. So I'm giving the course online.
So how far deep down the rabbit hole of Bitcoin were you when you proposed that course, or was this kind of like the kick up the ass that you needed?
Not that far, actually. I consider when I finished the books, I was still considering myself as a noob, because I was always asking my fellow Bitcoiners that are that discovered Bitcoin way before me. I was always asking them to verify what I wrote, and to seek validation on what I wrote, because I read all those books. There was like 24 books. It's exactly like I finished like undergraduate, and you never worked, and you're like, I have all this data, all that knowledge, but I never applied it at all. I mean, I'm fresh. So, and I have all those friends from Montreal, from Bitcoin Montreal, sorry, Verify, Bull Bitcoin. I have all those friends that I met in Bitcoin Montreal. So I always send them PDFs of the books, and can you verify that if it's okay? Can I say that? Is it okay? And after reading all the other books and speaking with all those Bitcoiners, now I think I maybe have a master in Bitcoin. All of them have post PhD or something, but I think I'm like a master it enough to say that I have a master in Bitcoin. But when I wrote the book, I was just undergraduate and very fresh and seeking validation. But fortunately, all I wrote was good. Nothing was off or anything. So I was still green. And now I feel really more confident about my knowledge. I can be invited to podcast and tell what I think. But before that, no, no, I could not.
And the 21 books, can you name them all? Or have you got the stack right there behind you?
Yeah, well, yeah, I can. I'm not sure I can name them all, but I can show you the one that had the most impression on me. Of course, Bitcoin Standard. Yeah, it's the Bible for sure. My preferred one right now is the best book. I think it's Layered Money. It's a Bitcoin, the Bitcoin standard, like history of money, what is money, all that stuff. But I think it's the good thing is it really present the future of money with a credibility. I think the way layered money and explain us in the history all layered money, that during history money was layered by throughout history, and that the logical conclusion now that Bitcoin exists, that Bitcoin is going to be the first layer of money, and we're going to build all the money that kind of exists today on Bitcoin instead of the US dollar or gold. Yeah, I really like this book.
I back that up as well. Nick's book is brilliant. For those people that haven't picked it up, it's
actually
great.
the best right now. It's the best book about Bitcoin. There's also Inventing Bitcoin. So Inventing Bitcoin, that's another one I'm going to take a minute to talk about, because on my journey, on my research, I read Mastering Bitcoin first. It's an awesome book. If you want to know precisely how Bitcoin works, that's what's one of the best book. Well, it's the best book out there to know how Bitcoin works, because everything is there. But it was way too advanced for me. Even if I'm a computer scientist, it was way too advanced. I'm not sure I understand everything in there when I first read it. And after that, I read Programming Bitcoin, which was great because I'm a coder, and it's all the same concept that you learn in Mastering Bitcoin. So it was really awesome reading those two books. So I really understood how Bitcoin works. But this is not a great book to give out to people. Say, read that, you're going to understand Bitcoin. No, it's not. It's an advanced book. So Jan did what needed, what was needed to be done. He wrote the book to understand how Bitcoin works, blockchain side of Bitcoin, to understand really easily the way he's explained is accessible for everyone. So I really recommended it. I translated with Thibaut Maréchal, your friend.
Oui.
Yeah.
I didn't know this. I didn't know Tib was part of that project.
So yeah, his name is right there. Well, the people who who's gonna watch it on YouTube, his name is there. So Thibaut, me, and our editor translated it. So we did the French version of that. So after reading it, I was like, wow, this is the way to explain blockchain to people. So I actually stole the idea of the lottery from Jan for my book. So mining is not a complex mathematical equation. It's lottery. It's a lottery that you hash a random number with the transaction, and you win or you don't win the block. That's it. It's not complex mathematics. It's a hash function, and the computer just randomly change a number in the block, and if there's enough zeros, you win. So that's how I explain it in the book. And I actually stole the idea from Jan with his permission. I asked before, and I say that's the best way to explain Bitcoin, mining to people. So this is what I used in my book. And then Price of Tomorrow, Jeff Booth. So this book explains how we got here with how the croissance, so the growth in the economy, how much it costs in debt. This is really eye-opening, because for years now, I speak with my friend. I say, there's a problem with perpetual growth. I think it's going to break someday. You cannot just always, a company cannot just always keep growing and growing and growing. There should be a top or something. I'm not an economist, but it was really weird for me that the company has to grow to be valued. If a company just stay the same because his market is like this city and there's that much people and they offer service, if that company doesn't grow, it doesn't worth anything. It doesn't make sense to me. So those company needs to grow to outpace, I don't know, maybe the debt or something. I'm not, as I said, I'm not an economist, and the explanation for this idea I had isn't there. It's normal that we need perpetual growth because we need to outpace the debt we're creating to create this growth in the first place. So that was really eye-opening for me. And the purpose of this book is to explain how a technology will create a world that we're going to have deflation. When I say deflation to people who went to university in economics, they all freak out. They're like, oh no, we cannot have deflation. This is the ultimate bad thing. So everything is going to crash. Everybody's going to die, all that stuff because of deflation. I'm like, wait a minute, there's different definition. When I say deflation, I'm not talking about real contraction of the economy. What I'm talking about is money having more value and price of things decreasing, not because there's less demand or economic contraction, just because it's cheaper to make those things. Things should be cheaper and cheaper because our technology get better and better. So this is all explained here. So when people freaked out about deflation, they freaked out about the contraction of economy and the reducing demand. That's bad because people's gonna lose their job and stuff. But price diminishing and value of money going up, it's not bad. It's good. It's good for society. It's good for the planet actually, because you would not need this perpetual growth to be a good company. You just need to have a market and sell things. Yeah. So this was a really eye-opening for me. And we talked about that. We talked about that at Biarritz. I was reading this and I thought it was not a Bitcoin book. And I was really happy about it. It was not a Bitcoin book because I was like, yeah, there's a random guy who understands Bitcoin because it's not written Bitcoin anywhere where I was. And it's a Bitcoin book, but it's actually a Bitcoin book because there's the word Bitcoin at the end. So it's a punch. But I don't think I heard your podcast with Jeff, and it was not, he didn't write this book thinking of Bitcoin. He mentioned Bitcoin, yeah, that it could be something great for the future. But it's not a book about Bitcoin. It's really a book about the future of our deflating future because of technology. Then we have Why Buy Bitcoin from Andy. And I've not read the second half, but I've read the whole part, the first half, the part about money. And money, there's the role of money, characteristic of money, all that stuff. And I've read a lot of books talking about that, but Andy's way to describe money is really cool because they're like 14 role 14 or characters. Exactly. Yeah, 14. I'm like, wow, okay, that's even deeper than I thought. And it's really, really cool. I really, really like this book. I recommend it in my book. And I think he made a case for an investment in Bitcoin. But as I said, I've not read it. Just a time, just because of time, because I wanted to read the most book possible. And in my book, I'm pretty clear that I see Bitcoin as saving, not investment. But I guess you can say that Bitcoin is kind of invested because there's risk and there's growth and all that stuff, but it's not really my expertise. And this is Bitcoin Standard in French, and I helped revise it. Marie, my editor, right before writing my book, because there was a lot of English words, because there was a lack of French words for a lot of things in Bitcoins, and now we have all those words needed in French. So I've reread the whole book for the third time in French and in English side by side, and just to make sure everything was fine. and we insert a lot of new words in new French words that didn't exist back then when she translated it. So now the version you can buy right now has all in French, has all the new French words for the cryptocurrency scene. Yeah,
that's very cool. And I got to give a big shout out to all of those authors because they've all given up time to come on the show as well. It's been a great honor to have them on and talk to them about their thoughts and what drove them to write the book, and thinking about the future. And my episode with Safe, we did a deep dive with him on time preference because that was one of the great things to come out of the Bitcoin standard, one of the many, and to help people understand where they sit on the time preference scale. And we've all been driven to this high time preference behavior,
yes.
like throughout our whole lives.
Yes.
And to flip that is so damn important.
Yep.
We've really got to get that through to people. But I want to ask then, why did you write your book in the French language and not the English language? That must have been a very conscious decision for you.
Yeah, I'm not good enough in English to write a book. That's as easy as that, because I think I have great writing skill in French, enough to write a book. It's an art, and I could have wrote it in English, but it would not have been as good as my capacity to write in French. But the great thing is that I'm making it translate. Well, there's someone's translating it right now in English, so it's going to be out in English with. So imagine if I would have wrote it in English, it would be like a bit limited in the language side in English. So I wrote it in French with all the words I know and all my writing talent or something. So the guy who's translating it is really good at writing in French and really good at writing in English. So he's going to be able to transfer all my prose. We say that in French? We have the prose word. It's the same word, prose. Mm-hmm. So all my prose is going to be able to translate it with the right way in English. So it's going to be a way better book than if I would have wrote it. Write it. Sorry. Yeah.
And is the translator, is he already a Bitcoin pleb, or is this a way of you? He is, right?
He was not that much a Bitcoin pleb at first. He was interested. But reading my book and reading, because he's translating my article too in English, because I wrote 2 articles for Citadel 21. I'm really proud of that. And I wrote them in French first. He's the one who's so he's like my personal translator. I'm really lucky to have it. He's an ex-colleague and a friend now. So and he want to he's a computer scientist too. He's a programmer, and he want to transition to the writing world someday. So he's like training with my stuff. So it's awesome for both of us.
So he's slowly getting as much orange pilling as possible. Is he on Twitter? Should the plebs hit him up and go and follow him? Do you need to give him a shout out?
Yeah, maybe. I don't remember by heart, is because it's not his real name. I think it's Kevin. Let me just a second. Kevin sorry, it's like Kevin with culture or something like that. Just a second. I'm sorry, I don't have it. That's the thing when you don't use your real name on Twitter. If you want to get anyway, I'm sorry. His name is Jonathan, and he's really, really cool, but I don't remember his handle by heart. Sorry.
That's one thing I found as well, being at the conference. We can talk about that now. It's a nice little segue. When people come up and introduce themselves and then kind of tell you, oh yeah, this is me on Twitter, you're like, yeah, all the sats start dropping, and you're like, I get it, right, okay. And then you kind of like, right, I know you, and I know your kind of personality because I've seen what you've tweeted and interacted sometimes. It's a really unique way of meeting people that you feel as though you already know.
Yeah.
It's really, really strange. I'm sure I can't imagine how much talking you did at that conference. You and I spent a good 30, 40 minutes just going back and forth, and Rogsy was there as well from Découvrir Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And plebs kept turning up and showing up and joining the conversation.
It was actually crazy because I went to the conference to listen to the conference, to the sessions, like sit there and learn. But in the end, I was at the Rugsy stand, and thank you, Rugsy, for sharing your space with me. And I was giving out those bookmarks, and people, well, were like interested. It's a cheval de Troie. How you say that in English? It's a a Trojan horse, like you.
A Trojan horse.
Yeah,
of course, yeah.
Trojan horse. You give it people are like, did he just gave me like €2 or $2 or something? No, it worth nothing. Like literally, like a millionth of a cents or something. So and they're like, oh, cool, awesome. And I was like, yeah, it's for the book you have in your tote bag. It's from me, so I'm the author and all stuff. And after that, I was like, so I was showing them this very so for the people who's just on the podcast, it's a bill from Hungary after the war. They were on the losing side, and it's a bill of $1 million trillion dollars. So billion. So billion in French, billion, is after milliard, which is billion in French. So it's a trillion, I think. So it's a bill of $1 million trillion pango. So people were like, what the heck? And that's not the punch of the story, because yeah, this is the bill. You can see it. There's no zero actually, but it's still impressive. I mean, there's no, because it's 18 zeros. It's 1 and 18 zeros after, but it's not printed on the bill. But it's $1 million trillion dollar, pango. Sorry, but the problem with no, the really impressive thing is that the bill before was $1 million, and it was printed 1 month before the million trillion. That's what's impressive. In 1 month, it went from $1 million to $1 million trillion. So people were fiberglass. Can we say that in English? Sorry, we say that in French. Well, people were
flabbergasted, I would say.
Yeah, flabbergasted.
Yeah.
They didn't understand. It was like, what? I knew that there was hyperinflation in some far away countries and with weak economy or something, but I didn't know it could be that fast. So yeah, that's how hyperinflation works. At some point, it's just parabolic. It's exponential, and I didn't realize that before the conference. But Rogsy made a poster about hyperinflation that I collaborated with him. I wrote the text on the poster, and on the poster we say that the month with the most inflation was July of 1946, and I didn't link that with those two bills. It's exactly the month. It's actually June. The million billion a trillion is June, and the million is May of 1946. So that it's a month before the month with the most hyperinflation in history. Mm-hmm. So those two artifacts are in my hand, and I find it really cool to be able to show to people that it link their mind to the physical world. It's not like just an idea that hyperinflation can happen in some faraway countries. It's in their face. It happened, and it happened really fast. And yeah, so, and I have a bunch of other bills, and yeah, people just stood there listening to me speaking about inflation and those bills for 30-45 minutes each. I think I met 100 people because I gave out 150 bookmarks. So maybe I talked to, I don't know, 80 to 100 people during those 2 days about hyperinflation. So I did not orange pill them about Bitcoin. I orange pilled them about hyperinflation, that it exists. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, you had a bunch of other notes as well, and we were going through the dates, and then we found, well, you pointed out to me, it's like, look at these two notes, same value, printed in the same month, but then with the same serial number.
Yeah, those it's those one.
Right,
So
it's these
double
two.
spend. So they are 2 billion. It's from Greece. It's from Greece, occupied Greece in 1945, and those two notes have the same serial number. So what they did is they were printing money with press, like it's how money is print, but they were writing engraving the serial number right on the press to save times, because normally you just print the bill, and after that they use maybe some stamp like this and stamp all the serial number, and didn't have time to do that. So they said, well, we're gonna just put the serial number in the press, and that's what they did. And I have a binder actually right there. It's not this one, but it's another one. I have like 30 bills with the same serial numbers.
No way.
Yeah, I have at least 30 double spent on those bills, because I bought 50 of them on eBay and 30 of them have duplicates. So the most one has 9 with the same serial number. So yeah, so those, and you know what? You realize that those bills are uncirculated. They are perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So they print so much that after the war, after the occupations, so some people went there and grabbed the boxes of bills that never were used, and now, like 60 years later, is it 60 years later? Yeah, more than 60 years, 70 years later, they're selling them on eBay for cheap. I paid like $1 each. It's I paid $50 for 50 bills like that, uncirculated, really old Greece currency. Yep.
And it shows you again how little of a shit they give, right? When it gets to that point, they're just printing and printing, and they can't even be bothered to change the serial numbers because they know it doesn't fucking matter. The game is up.
In Onge, there's just no serial number at the end.
They stopped even putting serial numbers on.
Yeah, they just don't care. And this one is the million from the series we had earlier.
Mm-hmm.
The million, the trillion, and the million. So this is just the million, and there's a serial number there. So they at the million, they still cared with serial number, but after the million, they didn't care at all.
Man, it's crazy. So when
it's crazy,
you were doing all this research into hyperinflation, how's it making you feel? Are you getting kind of like angry, worried, confused?
I absolutely love your question, because that's my conclusion about all that. I've not just researched cool bills like that, and I've read 3 books about Zimbabwe, and it changed my life because it was very interesting. It was very impressive. It was fascinating. Okay, but at the end, those are millions of lives destroyed, completely destroyed by monetary printing. It is absolutely fascinating and horrifying at the same time. So it's a mixed feeling. So you're reading, it's like a thriller or something. You read the book and you're like, wow, how far will it go? How will it end? It's like a story or a great trailer or something, a movie. And you read that, and by the end, you realize that some people almost died because they could not be treated. Well, actually, people died in the hospital because there was no more treatment, because there was no more money in the country. So one of the other saw someone die at the emergency because there was no treatment at all. But there was also one guy, one of the other was working at a bank, and he was and one of his big client, he was the owner of farms in Zimbabwe, big farms. He was really rich, and he had to go for heart treatment or something. He almost died because he had to go to South Africa to get this treatment. But to have rands, this for people on YouTube, those are rands. To have rands, you need to go to central bank and win the lottery. It was an auction or a lottery or something like that, and it was an auction actually. Sorry, and they tried to bid higher and higher and higher to get the rand to save his client who was rich, but they never won the lottery or the auction. But maybe it was lottery or you had to bribe. I don't know. The story doesn't tell this part, but they didn't win, never. So the guy almost died. So the big boss of the bank had to go to central bank and scream the people there, if you don't give us rand, we're gonna pay for it. Our client's gonna die here right now. So they achieved to get the rand, and the guy took a flight to South Africa and got treated, and the story ended well. But this guy could have died because he didn't have access to foreign currency to get the treatment he needed to save his life. That's crazy. When you and the guy was rich, and when you realize that, it's not funny anymore. It's not fascinating anymore. It's horrifying. That's the mixed feeling I have reading those books. It's a really, really, really sad story, but reading that changed my view of money. So the importance of real hard money. Yep.
Yeah, it's crazy, mate. And if that one example of the rich guy, then the middle to lower classes just have no option. They have no choice. They have no chance.
Just another anecdote to show you to show you how it could affect the normal people. When the electricity go down and there's a problem, normal people had to get their car and get the technician at the power company office because they had no fuel or car or tools or anything, because they got paid a month or two after the service. So every utility service that get paid a month after, so don't have any money, because after a month their money worth zero. Mm-hmm. So imagine running a company that get paid 2 months after giving the service in hyperinflation. It's impossible. So the power company just didn't have any tools or anything to help people. So people went to get the technician and to go to the poteau in French, the thing with all the wires in the street.
Right, like the pylon or the
pylon, yeah, and fix the pylon. And people had to put their yes, I'm sorry, with my friend, with my English, échelle, the things you climb in to go high.
The ladder.
The ladder, sorry. So the people had to put the ladder of the technician on their car and drive and hold it and drive to the, and that it's all besides all the people were stealing oil in the transformers and copper wire, because it worth a lot for them, because copper wires keep its value, but the money doesn't keep its value. And at the end, people were using fuel coupon as money, because $20 a 20-liter coupon keep its value for forever, because it's always worth 20 liters. So people were exchanging fuel coupons, and people were just buying everything. The store were empty because people were buying everything, because everything was anything you can buy was a better store of value than the money. So it's crazy. And after that, the government arrived and fixed price. But what actually happened is that all the store gets empty because everybody buy everything, and after that, the people who own the store cannot buy back the product because the price were fixed by the government, not by their supplier. So they don't have the money to resupply. So that's how it was. It's a receipt for failure, and that yeah.
Another example of governments getting involved and screwing everything up.
And just to finish that, there's one time it's a director of a store chain, and he had to go to the government office explaining to the lady in charge of that price fixing or anything that if they fix price and they were not going to be able to buy back the product in their store, and the lady was not understanding that. They were like, lady, if I buy, like, I don't know, shoes for 10,000 Zimbabwe dollar, and you fix the price at $5,000, I will receive $5,000. I will not be able to buy another pair of shoes at $10,000 because you forced me to sell it for $5,000. I was like, yeah, well, what's the problem with that? Well, you're not gonna have a store anymore. Well, the law is the law, and you have to sell the shoes $5,000. Yeah, but I cannot buy the shoes. I'm not making the shoes. I buy them from the supplier. So they had to go there 3 times, and they actually understood, and they changed the law to let them. I don't remember precisely how it worked, but they actually were able to change the thing, so they were able to resupply at least and have a little profit to have the store run. But they had to intervene with the government official that say it's impossible. What you're asking us, it's impossible. It's really, really fascinating. It's 3 books. One is Zimbabwe, Warm Heart, Ugly Face, and the other one is the boiled egg index. So there's a thing in Zimbabwe that the best index they found is how much 6 boiled eggs were worth in the markets. So that was a benchmark for the inflation. So because that was always the same about the same value, but you can calculate the inflation with the price of those in the markets. So it's called and there's a When Money Destroy Nation also.
Right.
Those 3 books I've read about Zimbabwe.
Man, that's and it goes to show you as well, like when the shit starts hitting the fan like that, the free market will find other means to trade, other mediums of exchange. Like you were saying, they had the 20-liter drums of oil because they know that is 20 liters, like you say, unless obviously you start using it, it's going to be 20 liters and it's going to...
Well, it was actually a coupon.
Oh, it was a coupon, right?
Yeah,
okay.
It was coupon.
Excuse me. Yeah, so it was a coupon for 20 liters. So it was like the coupon was a bearer asset. You could go and get 20 liters if you... Right, okay. So there you go. That sounder money, harder money than anything else. And the free market will find that, and human action, this is how we settle on a medium of exchange. This is what's going to happen with hyper Bitcoinization. Like when people realize their US dollars, their Canadian dollars, their euros, their pounds, they're all just freaking shit, they will find and congregate on a harder money.
Saif says it in the Bitcoin Center. At every moment in history, the people were looking for the hardest money of their era. That's as simple as that. And when I understood that, I was like, yeah, now I get Bitcoin. It's the hardest money ever, and it's gonna succeed just because of that. Not just because of that, but that's one of the main reasons gonna succeed. Because exactly like fuel coupon in Zimbabwe, Bitcoin is an harder money than any money we have right now. So people are gonna willingly choose Bitcoin when they're gonna understand it. That's how simple I found that having read all that stuff. I think people is gonna finally someday understand that Bitcoin is the hardest money we have, and we ever will have. It's the end game of money. It's perfect.
There's no more bullshit.
No.
That's it.
That's it.
Like, this is it, guys. Jump on the train. And
Yep.
it's, like Nick says in his book, this is now the apex layer, called, whatever analogy you want to use, or the base layer, the new base layer.
Yep.
Everything now comes after Bitcoin, and
Yep.
it will be layered on top, like we're seeing with Lightning and all of these other different like loan sites or peer-to-peer lending. All of this stuff will be built, and instead of it being built on the original foundation of gold, which was obliterated, we now have this new foundation. And
Yep.
it's so damn exciting. But so what's interesting is you're doing all of this research as the country you live in is going fucking bananas and printing and printing and printing. Like, it's crazy. I mean, have they printed, the most out of like the so-called G7 nations? Do you have any figures or anything like that?
I don't know, but it's like 3 times our balance sheet, something like that. So it's really
Okay.
gone parabolic,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think we're the worst compared to our GPD, but
Mm-hmm.
we're yeah, we're definitely at the top of the countries that printed, because we can. That's why it's we can print that money because our GPD, and yeah, that's exactly what I explain people when they're asking me, well, is it going to happen with euro? I say, well, it could happen but the difference between Zimbabwe or Venezuela with euro is there's demand for euro, and there's demand for US dollar because of the petrodollar. Petroleum is traded with US dollar, so there is demand. There's a constant demand for US dollar. That's exactly why the US can print money without having too much inflation. It's because there always demand for their money. So euro, US dollar, and I guess yuan, China. I guess that there's always gonna be some demand for those for those currencies in our current system. So I don't think there's going to be hyperinflation with euro or US dollars in short or medium term because of that demand. What in my research, what I found is that um, it's always a loss of confidence on the government and a complete lack of demand for the currency that caused the hyperinflation. It's both. It's not just the people have lost confidence in the money. It's not just that, because if there's someone's willing to buy a Zimbabwe dollar for, I don't know, let's say they have wood. They don't have it. Let's say they have wood and a lot of wood. And so people's going to still buy a Zimbabwe dollar just to transact, to buy wood from Zimbabwe. So it's gonna have an effect on the people will not trust the money, but they will buy some just to get wood. So it's gonna have a demand that is gonna prevent hyperinflation. What happened in Zimbabwe is that nobody outside of Zimbabwe were using Zimbabwean dollar. So when you reach that point, it's parabolic. It's nobody want, because the country needs foreign money to import things, so they're gonna offer 10 times more money each day to get the foreign money. They say, oh, you don't want the official rate? Okay, I'm going to give you 10 times the official rate. And the next day is going to be the same thing. And the next day. So it's parabolic. So that's what I found. So with the US dollars, will not going to happen soon, or the euro, because Europe is big and there's demand for euro. Maybe with Canada too, maybe we're protected because some people want our woods and our aluminum and our hydroelectricity and all that stuff. So there's a kind of demand for the Canadian dollar, but not as much as euro. So that's the difference I make after studying all that, is that it's not just losing confidence in the currency. It has to lose every to have hyperinflation, you need to have zero demand for the currency. Now, after that, boom, hyperinflation.
Interesting. What would be the scenario then that a country like Canada that's printing so much all of a sudden loses that demand? It's not like
Yeah.
it's not like that. The people don't have demand for the currency, like per se, but like you said, they have demand for the materials, the raw
Yeah.
like
What the
resources.
country has to offer.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, and what prevents hyperinflation in Western countries like Canada or Japan or France or United States is that there's a limit. There's I said that they are like 3 times the whole balance sheet. They cannot go 10 times. They cannot go 20 times. They cannot do that. They will stop someday because there's a ratio. Those economists have a ratio that we cannot pass. So that's how they control it. They diluted the money a lot, but they will not hyperinflate it. But in Hungary and in Venezuela, in Yugoslavia, Yugoslavia right there, 5 billion. They were just printing money of the press without any regards to those GPD to debt ratio and all that stuff. They were just printing. So that's how you get hyperinflation. You just print it. So yeah, that's the main difference. So if I'm not showing those things to tell people buy Bitcoin because your euro is going to hyperinflate. That's not what I say. There's a difference between those, but this is example of what happened when there's no control at all. And I say right now at short term or medium term, it's not going to happen to us. But maybe if petrodollar does not exist anymore, maybe if petroleum is deal in ruble or yuan, or I don't know, maybe maybe the US dollar is going to inflate more and more because there's going to be less demand. I don't know. So those are macro thing, but before hyperinflation would occur, those things have to change. And I'm not specialist at that. I'm not an economist, but it's just what I realized reading all those things.
Now, it's been an interesting meme going around on Twitter. I don't know if you've seen it. The 1,000 euro banknote with Christine Lagarde's face on it.
This morning. It's
right.
Perfect.
It's a great meme. It's a brilliant meme. But it is only that, listeners. It is a meme. That is not coming. What is interesting, though, they're going the other way. And the 500 euro note, which was the highest denomination here in Europe, that was stopped, end of production, Jan 27, 2019. Euro Central Bank stopped issuing and distributing 500 euro banknotes. So, ominous date, Jan 2019, just before, the shit hits the fan and everywhere in the world gets kind of locked down. Read into that whatever you want, people. But it will, at one stage, just become illegal. Like you will have to take it to a bank and you'll have to exchange it. Now they say
did that in India. They did that in India.
Yep. They do it in the UK all the time. All the time. I'm not sure they do it in the US. I think, but no, all the US
they did wars in the US with gold, but that's another story.
Right? Yeah, they did. But in the UK, like a £20 note, a new £20 note will come out, for example. That means all your old £20 notes are going to be worth less, completely zero within 6 months. So you have to go. Yeah, this happens all of the time. Every time.
I guess they're doing that to prevent people from burying their money. And,
exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
to force them to have it at the bank.
Yep. So you have to go to the bank. So imagine you turn up at the bank. This is exactly what they did in India with, I can't remember which denomination, rupee, but it's a regular thing in the UK. They even changed the pound coins, the £2 coins. These will not be legal tender within 6 months. Take your old pound coins in. It's unbelievable. And it's something that you grow up with, you just, take that for granted. But now you find one of these £20 notes in an old suit jacket or something. You're like, oh, wow, it's just toilet paper.
Yeah.
Worth less.
So the thing is, it's not the instrument that has the value. it's not a bearer check even. It's permission from the government to carry $20. That's what it is. If you have a date on it, if you have an expiration date, the paper, well, the note doesn't have the value by itself. It's absolutely a permission for that time, for the elapsed time to own $20 and exchange it.
Yep.
After that, it's worth nothing. That's a
Here's
wow.
the crazy thing, right? They don't put the expiry date on the note. Of course not.
No.
But that note is going to expire 100%. Definitely in the UK, 100%. That £20 note, in however long they decide that they're going to change them, and they'll put some spin on it. We're going to make them smaller. It's better for the environment. We're going to make it out of paper. It's less. It's way more difficult to counterfeit. So it's all for your own benefit, of course.
Daniel, tell me with a straight face after that, when they're going to introduce the CBDC, that there's not going to be expiring date on them. Tell me with a straight face.
This is the conversation that we got into in Biarritz, and this is exactly where I was leading you. And this is it comes down to you have a bearer asset there with an expiration date on it, right? It was a banker's check, I think you had.
It's in Zimbabwe. Look, well, just first in Zimbabwe when there was a shortage of physical money, because imagine all you have is $20 bills, but to buy bread it costs $2,000. So you're gonna need a lot of $20 bills to pay. So they introduced travelers checks. So people were paying with travelers checks. It's from the government. It's not from a company. It's Zimbabwean central bank, Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe travelers check, but people had to sign them and with stamp at the bank and all that stuff. So it was cumbersome. So they introduced what you're talking about, the bearer check. So those are checked without signature, without the need of a name of signature, but there's an expiry date on it. So they were using that instead of bills and legal tender notes for a long time. They had a lot of different size, and that's what was the money in Zimbabwe. And I don't actually know why. I've not read anything that explains why they were using bearer check. I think it was just to replace the traveler's check or something. But they were 100 billions. The last one was $100 billion. So they started at I have one. It's 50 cents in my collection, up to $100 billion in I don't know, less than a year or something like that.
100 billion with an expiry date on it.
Yep. That's yeah. It's funny, but it's horrible at the same time. It's horrible. It's horrifying.
This is when we started talking about the CBDCs, when we were standing in the hallway in the conference, and it suddenly dawned on us, or maybe you'd already thought about it before, that let's walk through how they're going to roll out a CBDC. First of all, they're going to have you download like Fed app or ECB app or whatever country CAD app, because we're going to helicopter you some of our government money straight to your app. But before you do it, we need all of your data, KYC to the absolute max, everything that we can use to track you. That's the only way that you're going to stand an opportunity to get this money, the CBDC, whatever they want to call it, right? Then that first airdrop, like you predict, is going to have an expiration date on it.
Yep.
To spur consumerism, to get people into the shops, to get the point of sale machines up to speed, to iron out, and then you're fucked because
there's two things I want to say about that. First is I heard Christine Lagarde on a clip on Twitter saying that we need negative interest rate to save people, to save the economy for the people. But what it actually does is that people want to people that has money don't want to leave the money at the bank, so they buy assets. It just inflate assets price like real estate. So the people they want to protect cannot get a cheap apartment anymore because everybody's buying all the real estate. So It's doing the exact opposite. And about the airdrop, that's the second thing I wanted to say. Oh yeah, the Trojan horse here is that the central banks don't have a direct connection with the people. So what happened with normal banks? My guess is that normal banks gonna use Bitcoin, because if central bank can send money directly to people, why would banks exist? Because normally central banks lend money to the banks who lend money to the customers. So if central banks has direct access to the clients or the people, banks will say, well, we're useless, so let's offer Bitcoin accounts or something like that. Maybe that's what's going to happen if they're smart, if they're listening or they're following what's happening right now. I guess that banks gonna jump on Bitcoin train to protect themselves from getting erased completely. Well, not erased, but getting obsolete by CBDC. That's what I think that could happen. Pretty interesting.
It's that's been playing on my mind as well. The exact same conclusion, and I think it was a conversation with Jeff Booth that he brought this up. He's like, well, what's the need for the banks if the central bank can go straight to you?
I don't think I invented that. I read that somewhere, and I'm pretty sure it's in Nick book or Jeff book.
Right.
You said
yeah.
Jeff or Nick?
Jeff. Yeah. It's not in his book, but it's on a podcast. I think.
Well, maybe Nick is talking about that in his book, Learn Money, because he's talking about the CBDC. Maybe it's where I read this idea first, but it makes a lot of sense.
It totally does, and it flips the game board again. So all of a sudden, these banks to survive, all they've been doing for the last, certainly since 2008, is taking that cash as it comes in, rolling it out to their AAA customers, AA, at they're risk-free customers. Like all of a sudden, you call up Apple and you say, "Yeah, do you want to lend? Do you want to borrow $1 billion at like 0.5%?" They're like, "Yeah, okay, yeah, we'll take it off your hands." Before it gets down to us, and the mortgage is still 4.5%, 5%. That's how seigniorage works, and the Cantillon effect. So what now? If they're not going to have this flow of money, what are the companies going to do? They hold all of that liability for the companies. It's going to take just 3 or 4 companies to go out of business, and all of a sudden they're holding all of that risk. That could cause a shockwave in the market, and they've got absolutely nothing to offer to even like Joe Blogs on the street anymore.
Yeah, no, it's. I think the term is the zombie companies.
Zombie companies.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what.
Which makes up 90% of any stock market right now, pretty much.
Wow. Yeah, because people are just placing their money there to have assets to prevent them from being hit by inflation or negative interest rates. So yeah, so you're like, yeah, everything's going well. The Dow Jones is to the roof. Wow, it's awesome. Well, actually, just inflated by money printing. And I don't know how many people in the planet right now. What's the percentage of people who understand that? I think that the 90%, 95% of people look at the news and see the Dow Jones line and are like, wow, that's awesome. All I see is like, wow, they printed that much money. This is all I see. Yeah. It's very different. It's not success. It's not a measure of success. It's just a measure of all. It's exactly the total of the money that got printed, put in the hand of the AAA and AA clients that invested in a stock of a company. That is crazy. It's not investment. It's just protection against inflation and negative interest rate. It's very, very different.
And the worst thing is that these companies, they take that money on, and the first thing they do is buy back their own stock.
Yep.
To inflate their stock price, to make the quarterly number, to make it look as though their sales are good. But the guys that are doing that at the very top at the same time are writing options to sell stock in 6 months' time.
Yeah.
It's so bad. Like, we're laughing. It is laughable. And it's laughable. Fucking Christine Lagarde, convicted criminal, found guilty in the court of law for helping 425 million euros find its way into Sarkozy and one of his cushy mates' pockets, that she was part of the whole scheme. She went into that courtroom facing 18 months in prison and like a stupid fine of like 13,000, 20,000 euros or something, was found guilty, convicted, did no time, paid no fine, now head of the ECB. So you worked that out.
And after that, she tells us that we need negative interest rate to save the people.
Mm-hmm. And we should just be happy to have jobs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That one. Wow. You don't need saving, just need a job.
Mm-hmm.
Pardon me? Yeah. And I cannot express how glad I am to understand all those things now that I've made my research and educated myself in that. Because if you don't know all that stuff, you're gonna believe what they say. And actually, I just wanna, when she said she wants to protect people, it's because their thinking is that we need negative interest rate. So as you said earlier, people need to inject money in the economy to create jobs. That's what she means. There's a logic behind that. So people are going to have jobs and be able to eat. That's their way of thinking. If people works, they're going to be able to eat. But there's an alternative. We don't need to print all that money because when you print money, there's not more people or resources and all that stuff. All that is stay the same. We do not invent people or resources. So what do we create? I don't know. We create tickets for people to use those resources on how they want, not let the market decide what's the best use of those resources. So they actually taking all the resources for those AAA and AA clients, and they do whatever they want with it with the printed money. That's how you break an economy or a real free market. So I get what they want to do because we're in this system. So, but if we don't print money right now, it's going to create real problem. I understand that, but someday the system is going to have to crash or change, or I don't know. I think I've heard in one of your podcasts. So you or someone said it's going to either be happen orderly or disorderly or something like that. So I don't know how it will happen, but at least now we have it. The people who understand Bitcoin have a choice to place their value, store their value somewhere safe, and not inflate the Dow Jones or the stock market.
Exactly. And we were talking about this perhaps before we started recording, but it's so easy. It's so simple. You now have a savings technology, something that many from like the millennial generation downwards, perhaps even like the younger Gen Xers, they may never have seen an interest rate above like 2.5%. Like, I'm slightly older. I remember late 80s, early 90s, they were anywhere between 12-15%. And if you had a decent paying job, obviously I was a kid, teenager at those times, but say my father, for example, had a half decent job. His monthly pay is hitting the bank account. That is compounding at 13% over 12 months.
Wow.
You're okay. That's a bank offering a good service. You're happy to invest in that business, which is what you're doing by depositing your monthly check into a bank. You are investing in that business. That money is no longer yours. It is now the bank's. But if you are happy with their service and they are giving you a good rate of return, this is how it used to work, right? Now, zero service, zero fucks given, and 0%. Likely to be negative. And why would you invest in that?
Yeah, and they force you, and at least in the UK, to have your money in the bank because the bills expired. Wow, what a scam! I mean, you're forced to use it. Well, actually, you needed to have your paid deposit and all that stuff. So anyway, for the mortgage. So, and I don't think the bank's going to disappear because they're offering services that people needs. But as you said before, they were offering a service in exchange of interest rate and all that stuff. But now that the government, well, central banks use the interest rate for their interest rate is not a marketing tool from the bank anymore to, well, in the free market of money and lending and borrowing, if there's not enough savers, the interests are going to go up. And if there's not enough borrowers, the interest rate is going to go down. It's a free market. But we don't have that right now because the bank are not lending our money. They're lending the money that the central bank print. So it's a distorted market. So yeah, well, there's other people that say, oh, capitalism and free market, that doesn't work. Let's look at right now. I mean, this is not free market or capitalism. It's I don't know, it's central bank driven economy. It's not what it's supposed to be.
That's always an interesting one when you're speaking with noobs that are coming into the space or people that just don't want to listen to you, and they'll just turn around and say, no, capitalism has to die. It's because of capitalism that we're in this mess. And you're like, explain capitalism to me again, because I don't think you get it. I think you might be kind of off kilter on what capitalism is. Or you've been lied into thinking that you live under a capitalistic and free market kind of democratic society, because I tell you, we ain't in one. And if we were, it'd look a lot different.
Exactly. And when people say that Bitcoin is not money, I'm like, well, define money, please. Nobody can define money because nobody know what money is. They think money is the currency, but it's two different things. Later, if we have time, I could explain. There's the words in French are very are not precise at all about all that. So it's very difficult to explain all that in French because people have different concept, a different definition of each words that are not precise at all. And it makes a lot of confusion. In English, it's pretty easy. You have money, which is general terms. That mean anything you could obtain to exchange in exchange of a service of that you're not going to use for its own purpose. You're going to just exchange it for something else. That's money. A currency is the money of a country, like the currency of a country. In French, though, all those words are all messed up. It's really weird. Well, actually, I can. There's money is argent in French. It's the same damn word than silver.
Yep.
But argent doesn't really mean money. It could mean your wealth. This guy has a lot of argent. It means this guy has a lot of wealth. So in my book, I need to use argent metal, argent, because to differentiate when I talk about silver, because it's the same damn words. It goes farther than that, because money, which is the exact translation of money, people don't understand that it means money, because money is argent for them. But money literally means money, but for the people, money means the change you receive when you buy something. They give you the money. So I had to clarify that in my book just to have the lingo for the people to understand all those words and money. And the last word is you have currency. We don't have currency. We have devise, which is exactly the same thing, but you cannot use devise for your own country. It's the currency of the other country. So when you talk about the currency of your country, you cannot say devise, which is the exact translation of currency. You need to use money. So, and you cannot use argent. So you're like, Well, so in English it's simple. So there's money and there's currency. In French, we have 4 words and they all mean the same thing and they all exclude themselves from each definition. So I had to do a precise research with 3 dictionaries and all that stuff and documentation just to understand the lingo of the words in French to define to say the word money or currency. Yeah.
Et aussi, vous avez le liquide ou les pièces?
Yeah, exactly. You know what? In les talons Bitcoin,
Ouais.
le Bitcoin Standard, Marie, my publisher, used the word cash because there's no translation in French. It's argent comptant. You recognize argent and comptant. I don't actually know what it means. Comptant. It means I don't know, like it's from counting or something. So there's argent comptant, which means cash. But when you want to say digital cash, you cannot say argent comptant. It doesn't make sense because argent means the bills or the wealth. It doesn't mean money. So it doesn't make sense using argent comptant in the context of digital cash. So we found something like, I don't remember, like argent comptant numérique. So digital money, digital cash money, something like that.
I'm going to trigger you now. I'm going to trigger you because we also have here, par exemple, if I want to go and wash the car, then it's a deux jetons.
Yeah. Token. Yeah.
Token.
Yeah. Token. In French, we need to use token for coin, like in Bitcoin. And because all you guys that speak English, when you own Bitcoin, you own your coin, but there's no translation for that. It's pièce in French that literally mean metal money, like so those piece of cents or quarter or stuff. So the pièce means that. It doesn't mean there's no direct translation for digital coin. So the government here, who's in charge of French language or anything, it's called OQLF, stated that we need to use token for coin, but they didn't make the difference with the token on other blockchain. So in French, in my book, I need to use the same word we use for shitcoin in my book. I was like, and a lot of Bitcoiners are triggeed by that. Like, why do you use token? I mean, it's the word. I cannot, it's the real word in French. I need to use token. And now it doesn't bother me anymore. I mean, it's the word, it means coin. And it's the same concept for every blockchain. But I just say Bitcoin instead of, sometimes I use jeton when I talk, or coin when I really speak about UTXO. I say token or jeton in French. But yeah, it's fine because
can I ask, is it because the acronyms here fuck me up as well? I mean, learning French, man, Jesus Christ. I mean, like it showed up exactly what I was being taught through the 5 years of studying it at GCSE level in classrooms. What a total waste of time. Like, a complete total waste of time. When you get here and actually start trying to learn the language, it's completely nuts. But all of the acronyms are back to front. So I want to know, like the IMF, for example, is the MFE or something, or the ECB here is the BEC,
Banque Centrale Européenne.
Yeah, the BCE, the BCE. And I want to know, is it UTXO? A UTXO? Is it UTXO? Yeah. Oh, thank God. There's no fucking with Bitcoin.
No. Okay. There's no translation for UTXO, so I just use UTXO. Yeah. We're well, actually, maybe someday we're gonna create one. I don't know, but right now there's no official entity that had added them to their dictionary. So I just use UTXO. It's a concept anyway. I explain the concept and I say it's called UTXO, and that's it. Yeah.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah. Sometimes with very specialized language, you just keep the word in English.
Mhm.
But let's say for coin, I didn't want to use coin because in my book, because it doesn't mean anything in French.
Well, doesn't it mean corner? Coin. It's spelled the same, right?
Yeah,
COIN.
exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So it's a word in French also. You're right. So it's really weird. So yeah, jeton, token, perfect. Well, not perfect, but I mean, I use it. Okay.
That's his excuse, ladies and gentlemen. He's cleared it up. So if any French Bitcoiners are reading tout ce Bitcoin, that's why the word jeton is
Is
in
in
there.
there.
Yeah, I love it. All right, David, we should probably start wrapping it up. I always ask the same question at the end of the show, and if that is, excuse me, if you had one orange pill left to give to someone, who would you give it to and why?
Well, there's two actually. I'm sorry. Here in Quebec, there's two very well-known public figure on radio who I like to listen to every day, and they are not interested in Bitcoin, and they always say really stupid things about Bitcoin, and they have both of them have really great audience here in Quebec, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of people are looking up to them to know if Bitcoin is good or bad, or and 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 I would like to orange pill them, because not maybe to bring them to Bitcoin, but just so they stop saying silly things on radio with big audience, saying that Bitcoin is destroying the environment, or that Bitcoin is for criminals, all that. So just remove all those that noise that has been debunking for years or months. I would like just have like 2 hours with each of them and say, look, when you talk about Bitcoin, this is not true. This is it. That's the purpose. That's how it's going to change the world. Well, actually, I want them to read my book someday. Maybe I'm going to do action to make sure they're going to read my book. Maybe it's going to be possible someday. But yeah, that's those two guys. One is an economic, well, it's the guy at the radio I listen who's talk about economic economy, and the other guy just animateur in French. He's the radio host who's a journalist, and he doesn't. It's just that when they talk about Bitcoin, they say, "Oh, Bitcoin doesn't interest me. I think it's for criminals and stuff." I like. Can you just open your mind a bit, and maybe it's a thing that's going to change the world, and maybe you're going to have to talk about it later. So just take I don't know 3 hours just to study the subject, and after that, if you don't like it, that's fine. But at least you're not going to say silly thing on radio. That's it. Yeah, those two guys.
You need to swag bomb them a couple of your books. Just send them in.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Well, actually, for both of them, I try to find people who are connected to them, just not to say, if it's on their secretary desk and it, just toss it because it's on about Bitcoin. I want someone who's going to tell them, like, read that, please, and we're going to discuss it after. So it's a work in progress.
All right. Any listeners can help. Reach out to David if you're in the how far do you want to dox yourself? Kind of.
Well, the first is it's easy. The first is Patrick Lagacé, is a radio host here in Montreal, and the second is Pierre-Yves McSween. So if there's Quebecer listening to the podcast, they will know who they are. They're a public figure here. And Pierre McSween is not about it. He got it. He understands Bitcoin now. And what he says is, he did a TV show when he bought Bitcoin and he lost the key. And his argument for months was that Bitcoin is bad because I lost my key. I'm like, this is not a real reason. You just lost your key. You didn't follow the instruction. You cannot lose your key. You just write the words, store them safely. It's written in my book. I mean, it's easy stuff. If you want to study Bitcoin, you're gonna know how to store your key. So losing your key is not an argument about Bitcoin at all. So that's the argument he used. But now he passed that. He's better. But anyway, I would like to talk about Bitcoin with him just to have his feedback on how now we and giving me real data instead of the boiling ocean thing.
Yeah, the FUD, man, the FUD. This
The
is our biggest fight. It's
Yep.
But this is what we do. This is education, and we are. It's a ground up movement. You can't kill an idea. You know, all of the cliche stuff. More and more people. I was on a brand new podcast today. Another pleb just fell into the rabbit hole. October 2020, already creating the podcast.
Wow.
Like this shit is happening so quick now.
Yeah.
And you know, you put Bitcoin search in Spotify or Apple Pods or something, like you get a list.
Yes.
You used to get 2 or 3 if you were lucky. And think about like the reach that's getting. You know, it doesn't matter if you're getting 250 listens a show or 25,000 listens a show. The more and more that comes, different people find it. This thing grows. It's unstoppable. It's inevitable. Go stacks and fucking sats if you're listening, because like, I'm getting bullish as we're talking. We touched 50 grand again today. This thing goes up.
Yep. Yes, you're right. It's exponential now. I mean, the reach, as you said, the more and more people creating stuff about content about Bitcoin reach more and more people. Yep. Well, this is my thinking about that is we're all it's stacked. It's floors. Okay.
Mhm.
So at first there was the OGs, and then there was Safi Denemos, let's say, or Antopoulos. Okay.
Mhm.
And they wrote books. Antopoulos wrote a very complicated book, but it was a book needed because people need to understand how Bitcoin works in the internal of how the internal Bitcoin were working. And after that comes Jan Pritzker, who I'm pretty sure he did read Mastering Bitcoin to write his book. But after that there's Jan, who wrote his book, and after that is me, who wrote Mastering Bitcoin and Inventing Bitcoin. And I had my own abstract of I will explain how Bitcoin work to my mom. Antopoulos didn't write the book for his mom. He wrote his book for Jan. And Jan, maybe he wrote his book for his mom, but I'm not sure if a standard mom will understand the whole thing. But I read Jan's book, and I wrote my book for moms because I don't go as far. I just go up to the point that they will understand how mining works and how transaction works and addresses works. It's kind of easy the way I say it. So it's all, and there's someone's gonna come after me reading my book and is gonna explain it to another other people with his own way. So it's floors. It's block. It's actually blocks
Yeah.
that we build. And at the top, and each block has a target audience, and we had more and more target audience. It's the same with podcasts. I guess there's podcasts are more advanced, and there's podcasts are more more friendly for noobs. So we create content for all that target audience, and the more there's content, the more audience we reach, and this is exactly So the last thing is that Francis Pouliot is in my book. Is a very important Canadian Bitcoiner, and he was working at the Ambassade Bitcoin in Montreal, and he reached out to tens of thousands of people face to face in Montreal. So that was his way of reaching people with Bitcoin, but it's 1-to-1. And I asked a lot of questions to Francis, and I have Francis as my book. He helped me, and other guy, Ulrich Spiel, helped me with Bitcoin Montreal. So his work is reflected in my book, and my book's gonna reach more people, I hope, than he reached face to face, because it's dematerialized. So anybody can buy it and read it. I don't have to be face to face with all those people to orange pill them. So he did his work face to face. I do my works with the book. You do your work with the podcast. So everybody is reaching out to people his own way, but Francis would not be able to reach 100,000 people face to face because now he's doing something else. He's doing infrastructure for Bitcoin. So his time is better used for something else. So it's now our turn to reach to people and explain Bitcoin to people. So it's passation of the, how you call it, the témoin in French, when you run the baton. Yeah.
Yes.
So we're passing. So maybe someday I will we'll stop doing education about Bitcoin. Maybe I'm gonna, I don't know, build a company. I will not actually, but yeah, that could be that's what's
Who
Jan
knows? Who
yeah
knows?
Yeah, no,
Exactly.
I'm not an entrepreneur, but
these...
Jan did that, and Andy did that. So yeah, that's how I see this whole thing. It's we're all working together in this direction. It's very important.
The pleb baton gets passed down and down and down, and that's the way it needs to go. It doesn't need being passed up. The pleb baton needs to be passed down to that next noob and that next pleb that's going to pick that up, look at it, get interested by it, and go create something for others that are coming behind them. It's
the passion that drive all that. Passion, very important.
Completely. Passion and a huge sense of responsibility, I think, runs through almost all the content creators that I have spoken to. That they just get overwhelmed by this kind of like magic secret that they've discovered, and they want to shout it from the rooftops.
And
but the closest people won't listen.
And that's the difference between, I guess, Bitcoiners and the other altcoiners. I think they don't care. They just wanna chill something, or they don't really care about. I don't want to make enemies here, but it's not obviously it's not everybody who's in that. But there's a lot of content in the altcoin world that people are just chilling something just to pump their bag. I don't see that in Bitcoin.
No.
Every serious Bitcoiner that's creating something, they're not here to pump any bags. We're here to talk about money and inflation and hyperinflation and central banks and how that's always driving the world to catastrophe, and how Bitcoin can fix that. That's what we chill. I think altcoiners don't chill that. They either chill a token or to pump bags, or I don't know. As I said, I don't want to make enemies. It's not everybody, but you can easily see that on YouTube.
It's not everybody. It's not everybody that's down the chain. It's everybody that starts the tokens and shills the bags. Exactly. They are bad actors. They truly are, because what they'll do is that they will pay an influencer to go and start shilling it, right? So the kind of way I try to distill it down as much as possible, like shitcoins need influencers, Bitcoin has educators. Like that's it.
Wow, perfect. It's exactly what I mean. Yeah, we're not influencer. We try to educate people on different subjects to make them realize the importance of Bitcoin. That is very, very different than influencing people on buying a token. It is very different. Yeah,
completely. Two sides of the same token. Jeton. David, great place to leave it. Thank you so much for spending so much of your time and talking us through your collection there. Like I said, for anybody that does want to see that, I'll put this one up on the YouTube channel as well, so you've got some visuals. Do you need to shill anything before you leave, or anyone? Obviously, your book, where can people find it?
Yeah.
And let's make sure we can...
The website is Tout sur Bitcoin. It's the title, toutsurbitcoin.com. You can buy it on Amazon, in France on FNAC, FNAC. I'm not sure how to say that. I'm from Quebec. My editor is Dicoland. You can find the book there too. The English version is a work in progress right now. I have also translated Inventing Bitcoin, so l'invention de Bitcoin in French, so inventionbitcoin.com. You can find a book there. I'm translating Nick's book right now. It's a scoop. Near and Money, we're translating translating it right now with my editor and a friend.
How
And
do you say layered money in French? What's the title going to be?
La monnaie multicouche. So layered, it's couche, and multi is multicouche, layered money. So la monnaie multicouche.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're translating it right now, and if I could just say one last thing is that if you're with a group of people and you have read like 2 books about Bitcoin and you have not figured it all out and they're really roughing you up intellectually, just don't give up. Just listen to more podcasts, read books, and someday you're gonna be back and you're gonna be able to answer their question. That's why I wrote my book. It happened to me. I was roughed intellectually by very smart people because I didn't know how fiat worked. I learned how fiat worked. What has government done to our money? Great book for that. And after that, I was able to because the people. My conclusion about it is that the people who are trying to destroy Bitcoin are not applying. Well, not destroy, but people who say that Bitcoin is not good are not applying the same intellectual thinking to their own fiat or their own platform because it just works. It works for them. So they're like, I will not question the dollar or euro. It's working, but they are not applying the same intellectual thinking for their fiat to Bitcoin. So you have to study their fiat to ask them question about their fiat and make them think. And after that, maybe they're going to say, oh yeah, so Bitcoin doesn't have intrinsic value. That's a good thing. So because they say, well, Bitcoin doesn't have intrinsic value. That's not a problem, though. It's a feature, and you have to continue your research and your idea until you can argument with those people. And my message is don't give up. Just continue reading, and someday you're going to reach that level of knowledge, and you're not going to be roughed intellectually anymore. Yep.
Love it. Great message for the plebs, a rallying cry. So, David, thanks for taking the time. And it's at David St. Onge on Twitter. I'll make sure that's in the title of the show so the plebs can come and find you and reach out.
Thank you.
All right, brother.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. Been a pleasure. Take care.